she was sacked.
Yeah, exactly.
And she's had trouble getting employment, and yet she was the top woman in her field. Top. She'd won awards.
Yeah.
And yet she was discredited instantly. She's still out there, still making money and still having a career, but not as she once had.
Exactly. I mean, and that's also kind of a scare tactics, potentially, to kind of make her an example almost out of her, that look at what happens when you kind of speak out and actually are trying to go against the consensus. This is what happened to you. We're going to ruin your career,
That's right. They've learned, the government and industry have learned this formula over the years, that they can discredit people. They can threaten your license if you're a dentist or a doctor.
Mm-hmm.
If you speak out against a drug that's doing harm.
Right.
And certainly fluoride, that's exactly what has happened to people. Dr. Calhoun, as far as I know, he was the chief dental officer for New Zealand, or Auckland, I'm not sure.
Right.
And he lost that position as soon as he started speaking out.
Yeah.
I know of another dentist in Canada that the exact same thing has happened to as well, who's also fighting to get this taken out of all the waters in Canada. So this is not an uncommon experience, but it then it proves that something's wrong here.
Definitely.
And I think when we look at this, there isn't any logic to it. Therefore, something else is going on, and it's got a lot of wide-ranging damage. And if you see that even in Dr. John Yamañanas, who was a toxicologist and a biochemist, now he wrote a book called "The Fluoride: The Aging Factor," because he was the expert witness in those Supreme Court cases I told you about early on, that proved that fluoride caused cancer. He was the expert witness who appeared in court. And he then did a book up to tell you all the damage it did, and including DNA damage, that they had found that it breaks the hydrogen bond in DNA.
So again, it's the similar kind of thing with the Wi-Fi, with the different microwave radiation. It's breaking up and totally, destroying the DNA of your tissue.
And so the damage may not appear at the time you get hit.
Exactly. So it might be coming in later years, or again, as you said, further down the road in generations to come,
Yeah, there have been studies that have found links with fluoride and Down syndrome, which of course needs DNA damage.
Yeah.
So you're starting to see chromosome damage and all kinds of things being linked to this. There's a large number of German studies as well that show that fluoride affects the thyroid.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
A lot of people who then start to get thyroid problems, they then need pharmaceutical drugs.
Yeah.
So it creates a problem in the population, a health problem in the population, which then means that they need pharmaceutical solutions to it.
Yeah.
If you start getting irritable bowel syndrome, you now need all kinds of preparations to try and stop the symptoms. But if you keep drinking the water supply, you're going to continue to have the symptoms. So it just creates a new market.
Well, exactly. It's kind of like they're opening up the entire field of I mean, it's a pharmaceutical, mafia basically out there that is trying to, for every little, minor, flaw, so to speak, that you do have, or in many cases it's not your flaw because it's the consequence of something that you've been subjected to, like fluoride, like Wi-Fi, whatever it might be, bad food, or some other thing, and then you need to start taking one medicine, and then you're kind of in on the game floor, so to speak. Then you have to take all these different kind of medicines to kind of counteract and balance up, and you get chemically imbalanced, and you could even die because of it. It's totally insane,
And every drug has side effects. You can't name me one that doesn't have a side effect. And yet here's this fluoride, hydrofluorosilicic acid that they're putting in, most corrosive acid on Earth, incredibly toxic in small amounts, and yet it has no side effects at all. How's that possible?
It's not
Every
possible.
drug has side effects. Well, of course, it has dental fluorosis.
Yeah.
And that's just one. And that's a visible one. And whenever you used to get lead poisoning, if you have lead poisoning, you get a blue-black line that appears horizontally across your gums, and it's permanent.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a warning to you that you've been poisoned by lead.
Right.
And you better cut it out.
Mm.
Well, fluoride puts these white flecks and brown staining permanently across the teeth.
That's
exactly the same way.
Yeah, that's a warning.
It's your body's warning that you've been poisoned by fluoride, and that you better cut it out.
Now, let's talk a little bit about toothpaste, because I guess some people that do live in a country that don't have the water fluoridation, think that it's good, it's okay with the toothpaste, but tell us about it. Is it that bad? Is it good? What's going on there?
Well, here, as an example, in America, by federal laws of 1997, the federal government forced the toothpaste manufacturers in America. If you look on the back of the tube, in very small type, it actually tells you that you should not swallow the toothpaste, keep it out of the reach of children, make sure that they don't brush with any more than a pea-sized amount, and make sure they spit it out after using it.
All right.
Right? And then it goes on to say, if they accidentally swallow more than a pea-sized amount, you should contact a poison control center immediately.
Really? Huh.
So there's a poison warning on every American toothpaste tube. And I've seen them from Canada as well.
Right.
Now, why are they putting poison warnings on this toothpaste tube if this stuff is so safe?
Exactly. Oh, my God. But does it go under a different legislature? Meaning that what I'm getting at is that I know that some of these products might go under a cosmetics type thing.
Yes, you see, that's where they always bring this in, because if they bring it in as a cosmetic and toiletry, it doesn't require safety testing.
Yeah, exactly.
So they always bring in the water fluoridation and even in the toothpaste as a cosmetic and toiletry. Thereby, it doesn't require safety testing or proof of effectiveness either. You don't actually have to have proof that the stuff even works for a cosmetic.
Right. Exactly.
So they don't have any proof that it works, and they don't have any testing, so it comes in as a cosmetic and toiletry. And the toothpaste itself causes dental fluorosis. Even before the water was fluoridated, they had children who had dental fluorosis from toothpaste, because when you put toothpaste in your mouth, you're going to absorb it through your mucous membrane.
Well,
the walls
exactly.
of your mouth, you'll absorb it.
Yeah.
And so you're getting a lot through the toothpaste. And the toothpaste, the reason there's a poison warning on the toothpaste in America and in Canada is because there's actually a lethal dose of fluoride in a toothpaste tube for a child.
Huh.
There's a fifth of a level teaspoon in a whole tube.
Right.
And that's enough to kill like a 10-year-old on down.
Huh.
It's actually lethal.
I just think back. I know that when I was younger, there was actually one kind of special type of brand of toothpaste that was at the time developed. It was like the point of it was that it was supposed to almost taste like candy. So people, kids.
I know, and it encourages you to swallow it.
Yeah, exactly, almost. And I know the kids. They went home and actually. Took just brushed their teeth a little bit, or took some on their teeth, and as you say, some even swallowed it. And it's, oh my God, it's horrendous. Well,
another reason that it was called to the attention of the toothpaste to the federal government, the Food and Drug Administration in America, was because every year in their poison control centers, they get something like 10,000 calls a year from panicked parents whose children have become unconscious, or violently throwing up, or having other huge side effects related to swallowing the toothpaste. So they know that the stuff is very poisonous. Now, the chances of you eating the whole tube of toothpaste are remote, because you'll probably get very seriously ill before you get to the end of the toothpaste
Before that, yeah, sure.
But you're going to be seriously ill.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's if you're not in a weakened condition, or you have another medical condition that'll make you die.
Yeah, exactly. And it builds up again in your system. So if you get a large amount at some point, that might still be there, so to speak, and then you continuously take a little bit each morning and each night when you brush your teeth, and eventually this is enough in your system to actually, to release potentially bone cancer, some other kind of illness that relates to this. That's what.
Well, absolutely. Happens. In fact, up in Alaska, Hooper Bay, Alaska, you can put this in your search engine. In Hooper Bay, Alaska, they had a water treatment plant at their well for the whole town. and it malfunctioned and put more fluoride in. Too much.
Okay.
But it wasn't a lethal dose. Yet the first person who drank from the well, he died. He just died.
Really?
And his sister went into a coma. And the other people just had all sorts of other terrible side effects, but they didn't die. And when they autopsied him, the doctor said that the reason he had died wasn't because the dose was lethal. It was because he had so much in his system already that this just took him over the level and made it a toxic dose.
Yeah, but what does that tell you, though? I mean,
yes, because it's systemic. You're storing this stuff.
Yeah.
So you're like an inkwell, and you're slowly filling up with it.
Yeah.
And at some point, you get to toxic, and that's it.
Yeah.
Then you'll have some major illness if you don't die from it.
Yeah.
And of course, nobody's going to look at that the fluoride had any of this was causing this because it was done over such a long period of time.
Yeah.
This man, it just happened. He took a large dose in the drinking supply, but it wasn't a lethal dose for an adult, and yet he died because he had so much in the system already from the toothpaste and the drinking of the water over the years.
Yeah. So
of course, now Hooper Bay took it out after that. Suddenly they could see how stupid this was.
Yeah.
To be taking a chance with the whole population, because if it had been even just a little higher, they could have lost the entire town.
Yeah.
Everybody could have died.
Exactly. And if there would be, I mean, if that ever would happen, that would release the worldwide controversy if they can't manage to cover it up and this actually leaks out. That would potentially make it so everybody in rest of the countries around the world would take it out at that point.
Absolutely, and in fact, we had a film that was put on here, a spotlight program back in '96. At the time, whenever they were trying to fluoridate Northern Ireland, and on the program they got a piece of footage from Florida, from where they had a spill of the tanker truck who was bringing fluoride from the phosphate fertilizer plant over to some town in I think it was North Carolina for their water fluoridation, and the acid had eaten its way through the side of the truck because it's a plastic epoxy lining on the steel sides, and it ate through half-inch steel plating, and then it dribbled down and somehow dissolved the axle off the truck, and the axle pulled away, and the whole thing burst open somehow, and it spilled all over the highway. And when it did, it dissolved the 4 inches of concrete like it was nothing, turned it into a swimming pool. And every car that drove through this acid was they put out a warning on the news. First of all, the road was closed for a week and a half. 2,000 people were evacuated from their homes because they were afraid that this acid would become airborne and kill everybody.
Yeah.
And 50, I think it was 30 or 50 of the police and emergency workers who arrived on the scene had to be taken to hospital for inhalation problems and skin burns. And it dissolved the highway. And they had to bring in diggers to dig up the whole highway and cart it off, and then take it to a lined landfill somewhere and treat it. And anybody who even drove through the acid was required to come into a detoxing center and have their car washed by a guy in a spacesuit.
Really? Oh, God.
And yet this is the stuff they're putting in our water supply.
Yeah, and they went home the same night, brushed their teeth with their fluoride toothpaste. No worries there,
Well, I tell you, a funny thing that did happen in Sligo, whenever we were organizing citizens groups in Sligo, we were going door to door to tell them about a public meeting that we were going to have. And one of the people went to a door of a man who was actually the local exterminator for killing off bugs and rats and mice.
Right.
And he was using sodium fluoride in his job to kill off mice and rats. Right? But he didn't realize that it was the same sodium fluoride that was in his toothpaste.
Oh, my God. Yeah.
He'd never connected the two.
No.
And suddenly he felt so stupid for having taken the same stuff that was killing mice and rats so easily and brushing his teeth with it.
Yeah.
He hadn't even seen it. So it's in a lot of products.
It is.
It's in sarin and nerve gas.
Yeah.
It's in Rohypnol, the date rape drug.